The movies often show cowboys with shiny six-shooters hanging low on their hips, ready for a lightning-fast draw. But the reality of frontier life looked very different. In the rough-and-tumble world of the 1800s American West, style took a backseat to survival. The way a man carried his firearm could mean the difference between life and death. When settlers, ranchers, and drifters pushed across the untamed plains, every cowboy knew better than to ride out unarmed. Dangers were everywhere: venomous snakes, wolves, rustlers, and the constant threat of ambush. A gun wasn't a fashion statement, it was a daily tool. Yet those polished, low-slung holsters of Hollywood fame didn't appear until many decades later. The real cowboys of the frontier didn't have time for showmanship. They valued gear that could withstand dust, rain, and endless hours on horseback. Early frontiersmen often carried pistols in coat pockets or tucked them into waistbands. But those methods quickly proved impractical. Dust clogged the mechanisms, the guns rubbed painfully against the skin, and drawing in a hurry could be clumsy. The first actual holsters weren't born on the range at all. They came from the military. In the 1830s, cavalry soldiers used thick leather holsters fastened to the saddle pommel, keeping their heavy flintlock pistols secure during long patrols. As revolvers like the massive Colt Walker appeared in the 1840s, so large they could barely fit a belt, the idea of saddle holsters spread to civilians. Farmers, scouts, and settlers copied these designs, sometimes adding leather flaps to protect against mud and rain. These rugged, saddle-mounted holsters were the ancestors of what we now call the cowboy holster. They weren't pretty, but they worked. Even more iconic were the rifles slung at a cowboy's side. Lever-action Winchesters, especially the 1873 model, famously called the gun that won the West, were essential tools of survival. Riders carried them in leather scabbards attached to the saddle, keeping them clean but easy to grab in an instant. Many cowboys paired their rifles with 1 or 2 Colt revolvers that used the same caliber ammunition. That clever trick meant carrying fewer cartridges and being ready to reload less often. This wasn't about theatrics, it was about efficiency. On the open plains, a quick, well-practiced movement could save a man's life. Cowboys learned to handle their weapons seamlessly while riding, switching between rifle and revolver with smooth precision. Their methods weren't glamorous, but they were genius in their simplicity. By the 1860s and 1870s, the practical saddle holster began to evolve into something new: the belt holster. Cowboys working on foot needed their weapons closer to hand. Saddle makers across the West started crafting leather holsters that hung securely from the hip, balancing easy access with comfort for long days of riding and ranch work. These weren't flashy props. They were dependable tools built to endure years of dust, sweat, and rain. One of the earliest and most influential designs was the Mexican loop holster, also known as the El Paso loop. Crafted from a single thick sheet of leather, it wrapped snugly around the revolver and attached firmly to a belt. The result was a holster that didn't swing wildly or drag low. It stayed tight to the body, ready for action but never in the way. Contrary to Hollywood depictions, cowboys didn't wear matched gun belts with shiny cartridges glinting in the sun. Those exposed bullet loops looked great on screen, but were impractical in real life. Dust and rain quickly corroded the ammunition, so real cowboys preferred small leather pouches to keep their rounds dry and protected. The Mexican loop wasn't about show, it was about endurance. Built by hand from worn saddle leather, it was rugged, simple, and tough enough for years of trail use. Cowboys gradually refined the design, trimming down excess leather and lowering the top edge to allow a faster draw. Around the same time, another design emerged, the California Slim Jim. Sleek, lightweight, and finely stitched, it hugged the revolver like a glove. For the first time, a holster could be both practical and handsome. The Slim Jim was often beautifully decorated with floral tooling, showing off the artistry of frontier leatherworkers. It could be worn at the waist, offering quick access on horseback or on foot. From the Mexican loop's ruggedness to the Slim Jim's elegance, every new version brought cowboys closer to the ideal balance: comfort, durability, and readiness. These were not the heroes of silver screens, but men who built their gear from need, not vanity. By the late 19th century, the West was changing. The open frontier was closing, but its myths were just beginning to take shape. Traveling shows like Buffalo Bill Cody's Wild West Spectacular brought dramatic recreations of cowboy life to eager audiences across America and Europe. Under the glow of stage lights, everyday working cowboys were transformed into glittering showmen. Their costumes shimmered with silver studs and decorative holsters designed to dazzle, not endure. These spectacles laid the groundwork for the Hollywood cowboy. When silent films and later talkies swept across theaters in the early 20th century, they borrowed Buffalo Bill's vision wholesale, complete with shiny six-shooters, silver buckles, and lightning-fast draws. By the 1940s, Western cinema had turned that fantasy into legend. Stars like John Wayne and Roy Rogers made the Buscadero holster, a low-slung rig strapped to the thigh, the new symbol of frontier masculinity. It looked thrilling on camera, but had almost no connection to the real gear of the 1800s. These cinematic rigs were engineered for performance, not practicality. Some even had spring steel reinforcements to speed up the draw, perfect for stunts, but absurd on the trail. The true cowboys of the Old West would hardly recognize these movie versions of themselves. Their holsters were plain, their belts unadorned, their weapons carried for work, not glory. Yet the myth endured. From shoulder holsters used by gamblers like Doc Holliday to the well-worn Slim Jims of ranch hands, every reel design told a story of ingenuity, not illusion. What Hollywood gave us was fantasy, the glittering legend of a gunslinger's quick draw. What history leaves behind is something quieter, tougher, and far more human. Because in the real Old West, survival, not spectacle, was the measure of a man.